Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. I'm Eric, and unfortunately, Lucas could not join us on today's episode. Today is August 23rd, 2021, and today we're going to be talking about Joe Biden's approval rating. We're going to be talking about what exactly it is compared to some other presidents, and then I'm going to talk about why exactly it's at its point. And then I'm going to be talking about what the Democrats think about this and what the Republicans think about this, and then really see if it's going to make an impact on the 2022 House and Senate elections. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So at the moment, Joe Biden's approval rating is at a record low, to say the least. Right here on day 216, it is at 48.5%. And with that, his disapproval rating is also the highest it's ever been in his presidency at 45.9%. This is like a net 2.5% approval rating if you subtract the approval from the disapproval. And we made a video very early into Joe Biden's presidency, and it was probably like around here. And it was a pretty flat line. And, because he just got started, and that's what people call the honeymoon period when, the president just gets settles in. There's not much, being thrown at him. And, he's not necessarily unpopular. And he hasn't served enough time for the people to, assess his job performance. It's fluctuated around this point for most of the time. At this point, vaccination rates were pretty high in the United States, and the cases were low, and the Delta variant has not hit yet. But as we go farther down into his presidency, let's go to midsummer, like July 20th. The Delta variant starts hitting some states like Florida and Texas really hard. And Joe Biden says that it's nothing to worry about, but everyone knows that it's a concern. So it starts going down slowly. And of course, the main reason why Joe Biden's approval rating has taken the hit is because of his handling of Afghanistan. He made a promise that by September 11th, he would release, or, he would take all U.S. troops out of Afghanistan. And, his release of troops was very abrupt, and he didn't really expect the terrorist group, the Taliban, to take over Afghanistan's capital as quickly as they did. And as all of you have seen on cable news, their chaos is ensuing there. And, Joe Biden was under fire from honestly both sides of the political aisle, both Democrats and Republicans. This is a bipartisan confrontation against Joe Biden because, yes, this has been carried on for a lot of terms, but, they think that he should have addressed this and attacked this issue in a way better fashion than what he did, because now there is chaos in Afghanistan, and he is definitely not being approved, as seen by his only 48.5% approval rating. Let's take a look and compare this to other presidents. Around day 216, let's find that here. It was still higher than Donald Trump, but as we know, Donald Trump was berated by the media, and he had scandals with Russia and just his general management of the country. The general public didn't like what he was doing, but it is lower than Barack Obama's approval rating around this time. It's actually around the same. At this point, I think the Great Recession hit, and Obama was also losing popularity. But if we look at George W. Bush, this is an exception, as we talked about in our last video. Around this time, 9/11 happened, and in times of crisis, all Americans stand in solidarity with the president, and his approval rating shot up. But, there was this general pattern of a decline as the years went on. So that's his comparison of approval rating to other presidents. Will it rebound, this approval rating? It's hard to tell right now because this situation in Afghanistan is still ensuing, but I personally think it's probably going to come back around 50, and it's probably going to get back to normal. This is, the first main crisis that, people from both sides were able to really throw at him. Like this was the first general consensus that, Joe Biden made a mistake. And, if people start getting more people start getting vaccinated, and this situation finally resolves itself, it's probably going to rebound. So let's take a look at what Joe Biden's staff is saying about this issue. So we have a Biden campaign telling this journal that it's tough to imagine that in the midterms, or certainly in 2024, that Afghanistan will be front and center. They say that the American voters really just care more about their families and what's going on domestically in the United States. Let's take a look at what the Republicans think, because it's quite the opposite. This is the first thing that they were really able to, confront Joe Biden with, and they are definitely making it a priority to attack Joe Biden and his Democratic colleagues in very contested Senate races and in House races that we will get to later. But this article does make the point that, let me find it in a moment. They say that although Joe Biden's criticism is well-deserved, not all of the Republican confrontations are justified, because, once again, this is a crisis that started 4 presidential terms ago with George W. Bush. And, they also talk about the agreement that the Trump administration and then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo made with the Taliban about getting all U.S. troops out by May of 2021. So what this says is that Joe Biden just merely extended what the Trump administration wanted to do in the first place. And, a lot of Republicans, well, no, actually not a lot of Republicans, but some Republicans like Adam Kinzinger have acknowledged that. But, of course, we come back to the main issue that no matter when he wanted to pull these troops out of Afghanistan, the way he did it, the methodology, the actual process of how it happened was very unpopular and very consequential. So now let's take a look at the Senate race and see if this is going to impact any of the races. So the key races probably to look at in this election are, Pennsylvania. Wisconsin is still up for grabs. Ron Johnson hasn't made any decisions yet. Same thing with Chris Sununu. He is taking his long, sweet time in deciding whether he's going to run or not. But, I really do think that as time will pass, this situation will simmer down, because what I have noticed personally is that these issues pop up in the news and then they're really heavily talked about. But in a couple of months, some people may regard this as wrong and, not good for the issue, but it just ends up not being talked about after the situation either resolves itself or just becomes less unpopular. So that's what I think will happen, just based on general trends that have been going on, especially with this issue of the Middle East. As I said, and as the article said, people really want to focus on domestic issues that are happening in the United States and not really foreign issues that are happening all across, all across the world. And also to mention, these senators, although are aligned with Joe Biden, had little to no control over the situation, right? This is Joe Biden running his administration. And although Democrats are aligned with Joe Biden, even they have called out Joe Biden for not handling this issue well. And also they are not Joe Biden themselves. So I feel like it's going to be hard for Republicans to push these Democratic candidates about Joe Biden's personal issue. So I think our general prediction of the Senate stays the same no matter of this situation. And the same thing with the House, but the House is more interesting. As we've noticed, Lucas and I, we've been talking about this a lot, but the House is getting a lot more contested, and Republicans really have their eyes on it in 2022. And once again, same thing applies to the House as the Senate. These representatives do not fully represent Joe Biden. They're not Joe Biden, and they had very little to no responsibility in this Afghanistan issue and also the Delta variant. So I don't think that the way the House race will play out will, be dependent on this approval rating. And also, although this is the lowest approval rating of, Joe Biden's presidency, it's not outrageously low. It has, significantly declined relative to his previous approval, but, it's not like a straight line down, downfall. It was a steady decrease. And as I said, I think it will probably rebound. So at the end of the day, I think if there's going to be any issues Democrats will be facing against Republicans, it probably will not be Afghanistan. And, Joe Biden's approval rating, I think that it will probably rebound and it will probably not be the central issue of his, rerun as president, because as of now, he is going to be running for president. And for the Senate, I don't think this is going to impact them. But, there's still a lot of issues that they have to look out for. They have to look out for their own campaigns in general. And yeah, that's my opinion. So thank you all for watching this episode of Red Donkey Projections. Of course, it's not the same when Lucas isn't here, but if you like this content, please hit the like button. And if you like our video, please hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you in our next episode tomorrow. See ya!